The loss of one's spouse is devastating, no doubt. But this is more pronounced for many women around the world, especially in developing countries, where women in this situation face seemingly endless struggles for their basic needs, human rights and dignity, owing to inadequate protection from the laws of the land. Now, in some cultures in parts of Africa, Nigeria inclusive, many widows, upon the death of their husbands, are often denied inheritance rights, stripped of their properties, and subjected to stigmatization and discrimination. Now, the past several months have seen the world ravaged by COVID-19, and experts believe that this has worsened the situation faced by widows, as they are out of their usual socioeconomic and family support networks. Now, 250 million widows worldwide is considered by experts to be a moderate estimate, with figures likely to be significantly higher in view of the destructive force that COVID-19 is. Now, women advocates stress time and time again that women have specific needs, but their voices and experiences are often excluded from policies that should positively impact their lives. It is to redress this sense of injustice that the United Nations General Assembly formally adopted June 23rd annually as International Widows' Day to raise awareness on and push for action towards achieving full rights and recognition for widows. It's on that note that I welcome you to this edition of Nigeria Today. I'm Victor Azu. All right, now to discuss widows' rights, I have here with me in the studio Dr. Jumai Amadu. She's the founder, Helpline Foundation for the Needy. Good to have you on Nigeria Today.
Thank you very much.
And also joining me this time via Skype from the USA is Dr. Omolola Omotesho, Chair Work with Widows Initiative. She is also a widow, I understand. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Let me begin with you right away. Could you share, since you are one, with me some of the major challenges facing widows in this time and age, perhaps drawing from your own experiences?
It's very unfortunate that in 2020 we're still dealing with major trauma-inducing injustice. One of it is the fact that we don't have clear-cut laws. We don't have clear-cut laws protecting widows. One would have expected that the Marriage Act can protect widows. But as it is today in Nigeria, anyone can go and collect the death certificate. And if anyone gets a hold of the death certificate, that person can also proceed, especially if the person presents as a lawyer, can proceed to start what they call the probate process or the letter of administration. So one of the things widows go through is the fact that they're removed from their homes. They are made to go through rites and rituals. In 2020, widows are still asked to drink water from a corpse. When they bath a corpse, they ask the widow to drink. Dehumanizing things, they make the widow dress in black. Some have to scrape your hair, for you to go bald. All these things should no longer be happening. Unfortunately, it induces trauma for a lot of widows because there is no solution in sight. You go to the police, no solution. You go to the judiciary, no solution. You go to family, they say it is tradition. So it's a lot of things that widows are grappling with, because the first thing that is done is to dehumanize, after which their economic base is weakened by sending them out of the house, by taking their source of income. It's just a lot. And as I said, in 2020, we shouldn't have to deal with all this. And it has been heightened, as you said, by COVID. Because now, widows who have already been taken away from their comfort zone now have to grapple with all these uncertainties concerning COVID.
Let me put you on hold and talk with Jumai now. International Widows' Day has been observed since 2011, Jumai. How would you assess widows' rights in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. So far, just like she said, a lot has not been done to really assert the right of widows in Nigeria, even though a lot of advocacy has been going on. Federal Ministry of Women Affairs too have been doing a lot in this regard. NGOs, CSOs are always talking about the rights of widows. But what I have observed over the years is that after today's celebration, nobody talks about the widows again, apart from few NGOs who will still go out of their way to see how they can reach out to these widows and see what can be done for them to have a sustained source of income. And like you said earlier, the COVID-19 has really come to complicate their matters, because we have so many widows whose only source of livelihood is for them to go to the street to roast yam or sell bean cake on the street. The lockdown came, their source of income has been taken away. Thank God for the palliative that government distributed, but for how long did that palliative last? It didn't last long. So I would just say now that what we should focus on is to see how we can build widows' capacity. We have few widows who are privileged. The majority of them are not privileged. They are not educated. They don't have skills. They have been relying on what their husband used to bring for them to eat. The man passed, the family members throw her away, not even minding what the widow and her children are going to survive on, which is very, very bad, until they are empowered. Because if a woman is empowered, whatever it is that her family members want to take away from her, she has this belief that on her own she'll be able to develop herself and that of her children. But if she's not empowered, she'll be at the mercy of her in-laws, which in most cases has rendered some widows to even go to their early graves as well.
All right, I'll get back to you, Jumai. Let me go right back to Omolola in the U.S. Could you do me a comparison? Widows' rights in the U.S. and in Nigeria, where you have been privileged to live in both countries. How do you compare both?
Thank you very much for that question. I would tell you right away that widow abuse is global. It is global. It is different in form, but the abuse is going on globally because of sexism, which we also refer to as patriarchy, and racism, or maybe from tribe to tribe if we're talking nationally. Now, the abuse I experienced began in Nigeria because they were able to use the holes in law, collect the death certificates, present themselves as my lawyer, forge documents, but they were able to bring that document to the US to claim things. It should not have been possible because US has laws. But once you present as an African or as a black person in a white man's court, then the laws are different for you. So what they did was to hire a white attorney. So now, a white attorney in a white court, everything changes against you. So yes, in form, because we have database in America, anybody cannot just go and put any address for you. What they did in Nigeria was to put my name, my marital name, Omolola Omotosho, and put my brother-in-law's address. So immediately, even if the court wants to get in touch with me, they can't, because the court has no way of verifying that address. In US, that will not be possible because they have a database. Once they pull out your name and your date of birth, then they see exactly your address. So somebody else can just put his own address in order to circumvent things. But still, abuse is going on in the US. Must, but going on. Under injustice, under racism, under not giving women their due right, it is going on. But not the same. For instance, in the US, nobody would ask you to scrape your hair. In fact, if anybody starts doing it, all I need to do is call 911. And the person will be in big trouble. It's not possible here. So we have abuse at different levels, at different strata. You have some here who won't even hire you. Because they believe that, oh, you're a widow, you may have a lot of things going on in your life. We don't want to be involved with that. So it's going on globally. In India, they have their own form. In Ghana, they have their own form. So really, what we need is for UN. They're doing a lot, I must commend them. But they need to go beyond just supporting widows. What we've had, just like, my guest said, is that people take care, people support widows, but what we need is for you to help them. with whatever their husband has left. Don't wrestle their wealth away from them. They can't survive on their own if you don't destroy their economic base. And for those who are not educated, we need people to really empower, not empower with rice and oil, no. So we need UN to do things like affirmative action. We need the presidents to do things like executive order. It is that executive order that kept all of us at home during the lockdown. You know, if we were waiting for bills, we would all be dying. I mean, many people would have died. But there was an executive order. We need an executive order because, you see, the situation is a national and global emergency. Widows who are dying, no record. No record. They'll say they died of trauma, they died of stress. Hardly will they say they died from grief. Or hardly will they say they died from widow abuse. So we need something strong from UN. We need it to go beyond today. My organization, for instance, started since May 5. May 5 to talk about this. But guess what? Many people were like, is it not June 23? Is it not June 23? But we did 7 widow weeks just to raise awareness. People don't even know. People in NAS will say, oh, it's ESA, because many widows would rather keep safe than come out the way I'm doing, because we know what you can risk when you do that in Nigeria. Thank you very much for that question.
Let me get back to the studio here. Jumai, now she had touched on cultures and traditions, and I'll take you to those. No doubt, you know, these explain why women are consistently, especially widows, caught up in these practices that seem to infringe on their rights and all of that. But where do we strike a balance here? Some women have husbands who happen to be breadwinners in their extended families. And when they die, it is not only the widow and her children that are dependent on whatever wealth he managed to gather. His younger ones, you know, sisters, brothers, also depend sometimes on that late brother of theirs to do one or two things for them. Where do we draw the line? Where do we strike a balance to ensure that both sides are happy?
Thank you very much. That is a very simple task to accomplish if there is understanding. If, for example, a woman is aware of the responsibilities of her husband before he dies, it will be fair for the woman if he has enough that will cater for her children, assuming that she still has young children who are supposed to be in school. She think about the future security of her children first, and I expect the extended family members to understand with this woman that the future of her children are at stake for her to take care of. Then if she has enough, it is morally alright for her to see how she could reach out to them to continue with what her husband was doing before he died. But what we have in Nigeria and in some African countries is the fact that immediately the man dies, what they are after is for them to pull the plug off this woman. They say they want to be in charge of what it is that their brother have left behind, who will look after her children. And in most cases, from the encounters I've had, once this is done, nobody care about how her children go to school again. All what they're after is that it is my brother's property, you are a stranger in our house, don't worry, we'll look after our brother's children. At the end of the day, they don't do that. They don't do that. Even when this man leaves so many wealth estate behind, they'll just grab everything and leave her to suffer. We've had series of such cases, and that is where I want our government to come up with definite action that will make any woman that her husband left any estate behind to have a say in how these are being taken care of.
Anyway, you have also said that it's easy that there could be understanding, and that makes me happy, because in some situations, if there can be that understanding, everybody understands that this is a breadwinner, not only of his immediate family, but of the extended family. You never know how that man, you know, was raised and how much investment the initial family put into him. But we'll talk more on these issues after the break. Let's pause here and take a message, and we'll be right back.
The number of the COVID-19 cases in Nigeria is increasing daily, with many more tests ongoing. The battle of testing Isolating, treating, and attending to the affected persons rest heavily on the shoulders of our health workers, constantly putting their lives on the line and at risk to contain this virus, save and protect the lives of millions of Nigerians. To these health workers, we at the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, on behalf of millions of Nigerians, say a big thank you for all that you have done and are doing. To the security agencies enforcing the lockdown and every other frontliner, we say thank you for putting your lives on the line to save ours. There is no amount of words that can quantify our gratitude. Thank you. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
Welcome back, and if you've just joined us, you're on to Nigeria Today, where we've been discussing widows' rights. And we've talked quite a lot, but let me go right back to Omolola via Skype and ask, how would you assess the commitment of the Nigerian government and relevant agencies, to ensuring the rights of widows as enshrined in international laws such as the Convention on the Elimination of all forms of discrimination against women?
Thank you very much. I'll first briefly speak to the previous question about when a spouse is a breadwinner, please, if you don't mind. Our probate already made provision for that. 2/3 is to go to the wife and the children, and 1/3 of landed properties is to go to family. So there's already provision, some sort of provision for that. So the question you have asked about how prepared, or what our government, our government haven't done anything. I have to let you know that. As it concerns widows, we have done zero. Yes, there are bills that have included widows, like the Gender Equality, Equal Opportunities Bill. There is the VAP, Vulnerable Persons Bill. But you see, they just mentioned widow in passing. They're not really focused on widows. So as it is today, yes, there is CEDAW. CEDAW is supposed to take care of all forms of discriminations against women. But we don't even really talk about it in Nigeria. I don't even know if Nigeria is a signatory yet, or even if they are signatories, have they adopted, localized it? They need to localize it before it moves forward. The GEO bill since 2016 has been back and forth, and now, as we heard, the senators from the north are refusing to sign it for one reason or the other. We cannot lump the issue of widows under any other agency or department, because you see, it's overwhelming on its own. If we're going to put it on the women, then there should be a department handling it. I'll talk about my experience again. Initially, I went to Mirabel Center. Mirabel Center insisted that they only handle rape. Okay? So I was directed to public defenders. Public defenders didn't take the case. I eventually got to Human Rights Commission. Human Rights Commission said, oh, we've not been doing widows. They ended up taking in my case, but of the 12 cases they took in Southwest, I was the only one without respondents, which means it is already starting on a wrong footing. And I asked the question, many people say go to FIDA. At times, FIDA members are divided. That's the Federation of International Women Lawyers in Nigeria. They are divided. Some want to take up the case. Some don't want to take up the case. Some ask you for a donation. Some ask you, oh, we're doing it pro bono, but they do it at their own time. Meanwhile, you're suffering. I've gone through it for 4 years. One of those we interviewed today on our program has gone through it for 36 years. 36. From day one, she said from day one her husband died, they asked her for the key to the V-boat. Government need to do more. We cannot wait for bills. We can't. Widows are dying. Some widows are in psychiatric homes. Some have lost it completely. And guess what? It is tied to terrorism. It is tied to kidnapping. A child that watch as the mother is abused and dies How do you think the child will react to society? I'll hang it there.
Okay. Omolola, let me get back to you. We don't have a lot of time anymore. But let me ask Jumai. She talked about, the government not doing enough. There are organizations or agencies, but they are not properly capturing widows. And I ask, what does the Helpline Foundation, organizations like yours, do to draw attention of government to this situation?
What we've been doing over the years is to ensure that beyond the 23rd of June, that is globally known as the International Day for the Widows, we bring them out every time. And thank God, like in Abuja, where we are based here, the Social Development Secretariat, which is a government agency, they are always collaborating with us, which means they know how vulnerable these widows are, and they always intervene in whatever activities that we are doing. Which means, like she said, all the various policy documents are there. What we should focus more on is how to see that implementation are being carried out well. Like in Abuja again, every now and then we bring them together, we develop their capacity, because like she said, it goes beyond just giving them rice and wrapper. Develop their skill. It's like a popular Chinese provider said, don't give me fish to eat, teach me how to fish, which is what we are focusing on. And I'm also glad the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs also, not as much as we expect them to do, but they are doing something particularly for widows in terms of building their capacity and also giving them some tools that will enable them trade and make some money.
Okay. Again, I'll go back to Omolola via Skype. And you've talked about women being vulnerable, that's the widows. And you find that many get married, maybe the husband is affluent, and she decides not to pick up any job at all or do anything. And so she just relies on the man and enjoys herself, and suddenly something happens. What advice do you give to these women, to women you work with, and even those you know who you don't work with, who are not widows at the time? What advice do you give them regarding being able to develop themselves and be self-reliant?
Thank you very much for that question. First thing first, every widow must hold on to their God. So if you have a concept of God, you believe in God, whether you're Muslim, you're Christian, make sure you hold on to that God very well, because you will need God extra when the man passes. Secondly, we say to women, you must have a source of income. No matter how rich your husband is, make sure you are doing something. And that is why we do a lot of capacity building too. We do a lot of counseling and a lot of coaching. Some of them have skills that have become outdated. We have to get them together, because we don't want to send everybody to the farm. We don't want to send everybody, to go and start trading. So we do trainings for them to help them, reposition themselves for the market. Some of them actually go into business like laundry business. Some of them are taking up Uber driving. So we build their capacities. We always say to women, don't wait till your husband dies. No matter how rich, plead with him if you have to. Beg him, toast him, love him, do whatever you need to do. Let him allow you do something, no matter how small, even if it's from the comfort of your home. Thank God now COVID has shown all of us that we can train, we can teach, even from we're now having this via Skype, even from the comfort of our home. So a lot of women can now be engaged in one way or the other, as trainers, as teachers, as coaches and all that. So we're doing a lot to build capacity and to counsel them, especially for their mental health. Because at times what happens to these women, even those who do not go through abuse, is that they lose it mentally. Once you lose it mentally, you can no longer do anything. So we do clinics for them, where we bring in doctors. And believe it or not, there was a day we discovered a widow who had 126.
Dr. Omolola Omotosho, I'm sorry we have to go. Thank you very much indeed for your time and perspectives all the way from the US.
So much for having me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
All right. And Jumai Amadu, I have 30 seconds, I am told. Your final word, advice to widows.
My advice to widows is that, like she said, they should try to acquire a skill and they should stop playing the pity party. The fact that your husband has died does not mean that you become a pitiable object in the society. Try to just brace up, live above the situation, even if you're stripped of everything. Once you have life, there's hope for you to get your life back together. Think about your children and society and the life that you have ahead of you to ensure that you live above your circumstances and do well for your children to be happy seeing you in the future.
All right. Jumai Amadu, Dr. Jumai Amadu, founder, Helpline Foundation for the Needy. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you very much.
And again, special thanks to Dr. Omolola Omotesho, all the way from the U.S. Thank you for your time and perspectives.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Nigeria Today is live every weekday at 7:30 in the evening, and you can watch these and other editions of the program on www.youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. My name is Victor Azu. Thank you for your time.